Sonic Mania Plus is right around the corner, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. I think the biggest thing for me is going to be the Encore mode. I really want to see how they've spiced up the levels, but not only that, they also gave us 2 other characters, and those 2 were Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel, and that just blew my mind. We haven't seen these characters since, well, a very long time. Well, unless you're considering fan games, and that got me to thinking, what are some of my favorite fan games out there? I've played a lot of hacks over the years, and there certainly is a skill in being able to take something and change it into something completely new. I have a lot of respect for people who want to take the time and make these hacks into something special and unique. But there is another path to travel down. The path of fan games. Now, you could argue that the ROM hacks are essentially fan games, and in a way you are correct. But I'm talking about games that don't require an emulator, usually offering a completely custom engine, or a borrowed one, but the point is someone had to make it from scratch. And because of that, I feel fan games are higher on the scale of risk and reward, because at least with a hack, the engine is usually consistent. So I want to take today and talk about some of these Sonic fan games I really enjoy. I feel like these first 2 won't come as a surprise. Normally, when they're brought up favorably. Yeah, I'm being a bit of a basic boy right now, but we're talking about Sonic before the sequel. This one was built on the quite commonly used Sonic Worlds engine, with the game being set in between Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, hence the name before the sequel. When it comes to vanilla Sonic fan games, this is as vanilla as you're gonna get. It is classic 2D Sonic platforming. Now, what was common with Sonic Worlds engine at the time was it did feel a little floaty, but you do get used to it pretty quick. Where I think this game excels so much is in the presentation of the levels and the music, with a lot of the stages being very bright and colorful, sometimes too much so. Damn fuzzy's always making me dizzy. For the most part, a lot of the stages feel pretty unique. You have some standard stuff like the lush greens and the jungles, but it does get pretty interesting in its aesthetics. Aesthetics? But what helps this all stand out is the amazing soundtrack. Honestly, that alone makes me want to recommend this, except you can download the soundtrack separately, so, Okay, fine, you don't have to go that far. But it is a great listen, whether it be in the game or not. The only criticism I have of the soundtrack is that there are a few songs that don't really feel like it fits Sonic. Of course, I am aware that hasn't stopped official Sonic games having issues like that. Isn't that right, Sonic R? But that's really the only negative I have to say about the soundtrack. It's generally really well done, and it's varied enough that most people have a different selection for their favorite track. So overall, the game as a whole is really fun to play. I found the difficulty and the level design to be challenging, but not too punishing. I never really gained or lost lives. I definitely give that one a recommendation if you're into more traditional Sonic gameplay. But if you like the look of that one, there is a high chance you're gonna like this next one. Sonic After the Sequel is a sequel to the sequel before the sequel, and really doesn't change up a whole lot, especially depending on which version you play, since there are 2 available. There is the standard and the DX version. Now, for the most part, they're pretty much exactly the same, except for some sprite work and a different final boss, as well as a new move for the DX version. But between before and after, Sonic pretty much controls exactly the same, the DX version adding a bit of a lackluster drop dash. Of course, the main draw is the fact you'll be running through new levels. Now, the style of those levels do generally follow the same tropes we're used to, but I do feel like After tries to change it up quite a bit more than before did. In terms of difficulty though, it feels like this game's a bit easier, and it could be because of the slightly dumbed down level design. There's a lot more long pathways in this, but for whatever the game lacks is completely overshadowed by the fact that this game has one of the best soundtracks ever. I barely have a track in this game that I don't like. It is so good. The issue where some of them don't fit might still apply, but I don't care. It's just so damn good. If you don't download the game, then at least download the soundtrack and give it a listen. It is just amazing. But before you download the game, I do want to talk about the changes between the standard and the DX version, and that's mainly the complaint that the DX version is actually buggier than the original. Now, don't get me wrong, the original is plenty buggy in itself, but having played the DX version recently, I feel like the complaints are a little exaggerated. I didn't run into anything game-breaking, maybe just Sonic's running animation not working, which, to be fair, looks pretty amazing. Really, the only major one is the credits zone not working, but that's not game-breaking. You can skip those and get all the things you'd unlock for beating the game anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But I did want to mention it in case you were choosing between the versions. But I am going to spoil the new final boss of the DX version because we need to talk about it. Oh my god! Super Saiyan buff Eggman is becoming a trend, and I am all aboard. Yes, a trend I say, as in it's been done before, and we'll get to that. This is definitely a reference to a fan game that I'm going to mention later. I absolutely adore this boss. It's one of the best bosses in the games, which sadly isn't that hard to be. The boss fights in both the games are not great. Most of them are usually auto-runners and stick to a gimmick. They're not bad, just not amazing. Nothing beats a bit of classic Sonic action, but not all of my favorites are in 2D. There was a 3D fan game I somewhat recently started playing, and it's really fun to mess with. This is Sonic World, a 3D Sonic fan game. I believe this is one of the more well-known 3D fan games out there, and I'm not surprised. It has a ton of content. This was the fan game I was talking about when I thought about games with Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel. The game is so big, it would actually take me a long time to go through it all, so I'm just gonna focus on the main core features. The whole thing could be summed up as an emblem collectathon. All the levels are based around a previously existing level. It even has 3D renditions of some 2D stages, but each of these stages have 5 objectives for you to do, and it can depend on the map. Some of them require you to beat a boss, some of them require you to just beat the level. Doing these things gives you more emblems, gives you more characters to use, and so on. And that's pretty much the main focus. And to do this, you can use an absolutely huge roster of characters. My personal favorite being Big the Cat, of course.
You all thought I was slow and worthless. Well, joke's on you, I'm fast as fuck, boy.
There's just so much to do in this game. There's a Chow Garden, there's a ton of levels, all with a bunch of challenges to do. Honestly, the only thing that can get a little awkward are the controls. I actually have it set up similar to how Sonic Robo Blast is, in a kind of Doom style where clicking allows you to jump. Though most likely the best way to play it would be with a controller. And the only other real downside is apparently it won't work for some people, which is a real shame, because in terms of 3D fan games, I would say this one definitely comes close to feeling like an official game, despite some inconsistencies on what you can homing attack to, I'm just saying. But I highly recommend you check this one out if you're into your 3D Sonic fan games with a bunch of content to offer. So yeah, some pretty standard picks right now, but however much I enjoy quality stuff, I also enjoy strange stuff as well. Oh hey! Didn't see you come in. I was just shooting my home movie for this awesome intro section to the next game. Actually, home movies is what this next game's known for. You know what it is? Also, get out of my house! This is Sonic Dreams Collection, probably the fan game on this list that is the most well-known outside of the Sonic fan base, and that's because shit gets weird! It was advertised as Abandoned Sonic Projects. It's actually a game that offers 4 different game types. Well, I say game types where one of them is just a make-your-own OC thing with a few pressable buttons. Yeah, and me just saying that has pretty much covered the whole mode, so I guess we'll move on. Eggman Origin doesn't even work. Or does it? The most well-known mode of this is the Sonic Movie Maker. The summary suggests this was going to be available to the players, but after a bit of investigation found out that
People have dark secrets.
the whole idea of the mode is that you are shooting a movie. You have to find the video camera first, of course. You can adjust the position of most of the objects to be able to set up that perfect scene. Because you only get 6 seconds worth of footage, you might as well make it worthwhile. And after you're done, you exit the area and you can watch your movie. Now, the concept isn't the thing that kind of gets a bit weird, it's the stuff that's inside these sets. It starts off fairly tame, and then there's a prom night, and Sonic and Rouge are dancing. Or no, sorry, that's not Sonic, that's my OC. Gordon Prego, Buff Knight, Sonja, the immortal Vocaloid Hedge Girl. Please do not steal. After the prom night, though, things get a little bit stranger. Why is Sonic strapped down and there's lots of food? I'm incredibly uncomfortable. Oh, how could this get worse? Oh, that's how. We've gone too far. There's no turning back now, is there? Oh, I don't know how to fit. Oh, Tails is okay. What is going on now? I do not like my surroundings. Oh, hey, Big. Fancy meeting you here.
Have you seen Froggy?
Yeah, I gotta get out of here, man. I gotta escape while I still can. All right, we made some great movies together. Never again. The last one is this silly mode where you're on a date with Sonic. You're chilling out, watching some Hedgehog, and the night plays out with Eggman helping you admit your feelings to Sonic. Long story short, you stare deep into his eyes, he absorbs you into his being, you become a hedgehog. Honestly, a bit tame compared to the stuff I showed you before. One of the reasons I love Sonic Dreams Collection so much is because I love the secrets they hide throughout the game. There are hidden areas to get to, hidden clues to be able to log into SegaNet and get into Eggman Origin, which, oh man, it doesn't have a lot in it, but what it does have is also creepy. It's like this fake MMO where you're supposed to feed this bird-like Eggman worms, and it kind of escalates in very weird ways, but you've probably come to expect that by now. It's a bizarre experience all the way through, and I really recommend it for anyone who just wants to have a weird time. Yeah, sometimes I just appreciate having a strange time. But this next game is the combination of a quality experience and just a bizarre one. Where am I? I was talking about Sonic games, and now I'm here. What is this place? Hello? Hello? Wait, what are you? Eggman hates furries. Yeah, this one is a weird one. It starts off with an epic race between Eggman and Sonic on a motorbike. Afterwards, you wake up in this drug-induced fever dream to then go on and play the best boss-orientated fan game I've ever played in my life, by the way. Seriously, I could honestly say this is probably my favorite fan game to date. It barely wastes any time throwing you into the action. It goes through the tutorial of those trippy colors, little intro, right into the first boss fight. And it really just sets in stone what you have to expect from this. Really creative and quite challenging boss fights. The one thing that is a bit off about the game are the physics. Sonic feels floaty on purpose. That becomes a bit apparent when you realize what you have to do to defeat some of these bosses. Still doesn't make it any less awkward though. It's more noticeable in these small break sections in between bosses. Just little platforming moments to give you a break before hitting you with the next big thing. There's a ton of interesting variety in the bosses, specifically in the way you fight them, because design-wise, most of them are mechanical. For example, there's one you fight as it builds a tunnel. There's one you fight in a vertical shaft. There's some boss position manipulation. There's also Tails Doll. All of them have a specific weak point and a particular way to damage them, all with some great music picks that really pump up the action, even if they are borrowed from other games sometimes. But as you're playing the game, nothing will quite set you up for what it does at the end. After you've defeated Robotnik for the final time, he has one more trick up his sleeve. Oh yeah, it's time. This whole sequence, this whole boss fight sealed the deal on why I absolutely adore this fan game. And it's just more proof that we need Super Eggman to be a thing, because if Super Sonic versus Super Eggman in a Dragon Ball Z style bout does not sound amazing to you, I don't know what will. This is the form that After the Sequel DX was referencing, in a lovely tribute to what is a really fun final boss. You're blocking laser beams, trying to get in close, draining the ring energy out of Eggman, dodging explosions and energy balls as you try and get every hit you can in. All while racing the timer, you are still running out of ring energy. And when you finally get that last hit in, when you think he's down for the count and you're victorious, it just goes even further beyond. I can't recommend this fan game enough, especially if you're into boss rush games. One word of warning though, just be ready for the ending. I'm not gonna spoil it, but Just be ready. And there you go. Those were 5 of my favorite fan games. Of course, there's a ton more. So many awesome fan games are out there. I could spend hours just talking about them. So maybe I'll do another episode in the future at some point. But have you guys played any of the games I mentioned today? If so, tell me what you thought. Or if you have a fan game in mind that wasn't on the list, then go ahead and tell me about it in the comments below as well. Though it isn't my goal to do continuous Sonic videos, Mania is right around the corner and I'm probably going to do something on it, so look forward to that. But until then, thanks for watching this episode of Pixelated Memories. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Hey, maybe you didn't know, but I actually live stream 3 days a week every week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 p.m. GMT or BST, depending on daylight savings. I stream a variety of things, and if you want to follow, the link will be in the description, and I'd love to see you pop by. Also, follow me on Twitter as well, because you can keep up to date that way, which will also be linked below as well. I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters for being very patient and very generous. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. And for those of you who want to support the show, the link can be found in the description. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Throw us a like if you did. And I'd be eternally grateful if you subscribed and if you hit that bell to be notified when I upload. There are 2 videos up above which you can check out, which are some of my more recent videos. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.